Those preschool years are so much fun. The children are learning so much and growing very quickly. By age 2, they weigh between 25 to 30 pounds and are close to 3 feet tall. And by 6, they've just jumped up there about 46 pounds and another 10 inches. You always want their growth to be during the summer when they're in shorts, so you don't have to buy them pants every couple weeks. Remember, children will develop according to their own schedules. So look at the averages and don't be concerned if your child is not tall enough or weighs too much. No, there's some gender differences. At this age, boys usually are a little bit taller and weigh more than little girls. And of course, there are national and global economic differences. Not only are there differences in body shape, but also in structure, both externally and internally. And toddlers will start to burn off some of that fat. They'll become so active, they'll just seem to shoot up in height and then look like they are less chubby. And then of course, once you get them out of the diaper, that really makes them look less chubby. Here's some charts that just show some differences in weight and height between boys and girls, and the doctor will have their height, weight, growth charts and be able to tell you what scale your child is on. So if they're within the normal range, some of them may be off the charts, and the doctor will help you figure all of that out. Remember, what is normal for your child is what is normal for your child. Because children in the preschool age are growing a little bit slower, they don't need to eat as much. So children can maintain appropriate intake of food if they're provided with nutritious meals. I remember when I was growing up, Mother would say, clean up your plate. She would say, there's all these starving children in China, and us kids would say, let's feed it to them. We'll send it to them. So please know that you should not force your child to eat. When they're full, and we'll talk about this in a few more slides. When children are preschoolers, their food habits are developing rapidly, and they're watching their parents, so you have to watch how you handle food intake. And again, decreased appetite is associated with less growth. I always felt when the kids were eating, they were growing. We need to be sure to feed them nutrient-dense foods. That means foods lower in calories with lots of nutrients. And remember, at this age, they are developing lifelong eating patterns. So make sure you're a good role model and always provide nutritious meals and snacks for your children. Many times children will not want to try new foods, so keep repeating that exposure and be sure when you introduce a new food that you have it along with something they do like, so that if they don't eat any of it, they still do not go hungry. Don't force them to eat the new food. That will definitely make them not like it. So just keep introducing it, show how you like it, and eventually they should come around. And perseverance. Children and adults can both be stubborn, so don't let stubbornness get in the way of healthy eating. Children enjoy watching others eat, and meal times should be happy times. I grew up with a brother who was very finicky. He didn't like a lot of foods, and many meals were nightmares as my parents were forcing him to eat. I was often in tears. Now I know better that as parents we should not force our kids, and mealtime needs to be enjoyable for everybody. Children like crisp textures and mild flavors. Feed affectionately, feed with love, and there will be unpredictable food jags. For example, they only want to have macaroni and cheese, nothing else. So just go with the flow, and next week it'll be a different food jag. Many times the bigger we make a problem, the bigger problem it becomes. So just lay low and go with the flow and don't make a big deal out of things. Eating with our children, getting our children to eat is really a lot based on psychology. Ellen Satter is one of my favorite nutrition authors. So I've included some additional information that's not in your text from one of her books entitled How to Get Your Child to Eat, but Not Too Much. Children will eat foods they're exposed to, so keep introducing them. slowly and surely they'll come around and eat them. And this next bullet says feeding problems may occur. No, feeding problems will occur. So just expect it. Don't let children use food to try to gain control. Ask children to eat what is served. Make sure you have something on their plate that they like. Don't say, okay, you don't want to eat this, I'll jump up and fix you something else. Have children help you to plan the meals, involve them in the process, and then when you sit down to eat, if they don't want to eat, that's their choice. Have them sit there for a reasonable amount of time, and if they're not wanting to eat, say, okay, you may get down. But you may not have anything else to eat again until the next regularly scheduled snack. It won't take them too long to figure out if they get down and they're hungry, they're going to be hungry till the next snack. So next time they will eat something that's on their plate. The one bite policy, try at least one bite of this new food. Just one bite, please. Again, crisp texture, mild flavors, that was mentioned in your book. Mild temperature as well. You don't want foods to be too hot or too cold, depending on the food. A good recommendation is 1 tablespoon per year of life of the different food groups. The My Plate is a great tool. Half your plate should be fruits and vegetables, some protein, bread, and then some milk. At age 5, they should be eating about 2/3 of an adult serving. Give them small, frequent meals. They don't have to eat really big meals. Children may get hungry more often, so small, frequent might be better for them. Make sure those snacks are nutritious. Snacks like an apple, cheese, cottage cheese, some nuts of the appropriate age. You don't want them to choke on foods. Fruits and vegetables make great snacks. And when you serve vegetables during a meal, make sure you serve those at the beginning of the meal, because if they fill up on everything else, then at the end they're not going to want to eat the vegetables. Again, introduce new foods with familiar ones. Allow children to help in preparation. You may think it's easier to prepare food without the child, but how else are they going to learn? So put up with a little bit of mess. Use it as a teaching time, and the more they're involved in helping prepare the food, the more they're going to enjoy their meal. Schedule regular times. You don't want children to become too hungry, so make sure you evenly space them out, and then offer a wide variety of foods. Set clear expectations, just like the parenting styles we're going to learn about. Let children know what is expected of them, and then stand by those expectations. Make sure they have appropriate utensils. Maybe eating their food with their fingers, whatever is appropriate for that child and their age. Again, avoid short order cooking. That's where you jump up and fix the child something that they want because they don't like what's on the table. Avoid using food as a reward. If every time you got an A in a class, I said, okay, let's go out for a hot veg Sunday, all of a sudden, then we are rewarding ourselves with food that may not be appropriate, and that could lead to obesity. So try to have other things as a reward, like a trip to the zoo, things like that that are not food. Set a good example. If Dad doesn't like broccoli, then Junior's not going to like it either. Keep mealtime calm. Allow plenty of time, a reasonable amount of time, and then encourage children to help serve food family style. So put it in bowls on the table. Let them take what they will eat, and if they take it, then they need to eat what they take. Although if they get full, then they can stop. But have them put realistic amounts of food on their plates so that they aren't wasting food, because what's in the bowl can go back in the refrigerator and served at another time. De-emphasize the clean plate. It's just opposite of what I grew up with. So if you're full, you do not have to continue eating, but just know you're not going to get any more food until the next planned snack or meal. I went to college with a gal who grew up way different than I did. She was a city girl from Denver. I was a country girl from Ray, Colorado, and my mother made us clean our plate up. Her lifestyle was, it's only proper if you do leave some food on your plate. She said she was 5'12". She was 6 feet tall and very, very thin. And so she had learned to eat healthfully and to not realize that she had to eat everything on her plate. Do not let children use food to gain attention. They will try. So you're the parent. You are in charge. Moderate calorie restriction. Okay, remember, obesity does have a genetic component. So if your child weighs more than they should, then try to watch what they eat. But again, we don't want them to starve to death. Encourage healthy foods, a good variety, and then promote exercise. Do things as a family to promote activity. Behavior modification. If I go to the store and purchase chips and they're in the house, I'm probably going to eat them. But if I know I really don't want to eat chips, then I should not buy them. So try to modify your behaviors. And then above all, protect your child's self-esteem. Learning to eat, eating healthfully, is a division of responsibility. I don't know if you see all the bullets on this slide or not. As I'm recording this, all I have is division of responsibility. What I'm hoping you're seeing is the responsibility of the parents and that of the child. It is the parent's responsibility to provide the nutritious food and snacks, to set the limits, to provide a pleasant and safe eating environment, and to decide when to eat. It is the child's responsibility to decide how much, what to eat, and whether or not they're going to eat. Remember, learning to eat is your child's job. Some childhood feeding problems. Children may or may not eat less regularly or less than an infant. It depends on the child. Just know if your child isn't as hungry, probably they're not growing as much. Snacking in lieu of meals. Snacks are important, but no, the meal should be most important. If your child is filling up on snacks and they're not eating regular meals, then they're going to be missing out on some very important nutrients. Children will refuse vegetables, so try to fix them in ways that they will be enjoyable, so they will learn to like their veggies. Iron deficiency anemia. When a child is an infant, they have iron-fortified cereals, so they may be getting iron. Make sure they still are getting some iron, and they should as they're eating more meats. Also make sure they get enough vitamin C, because vitamin C helps our body absorb iron. Now, milk, its least rich nutrient is iron. So if children are filling up on milk and not eating, then they can become iron deficient. So make sure that a child isn't drinking too much milk. Have the milk served with the meal, so they're drinking milk with their meal, not before their meal. Another part of this chapter, when it comes to good health, they talk about illness. It's typical for a child to have between 7 to 10 colds and other minor respiratory illnesses each year. So that's normal. A runny nose, maybe frequent. Sometimes they're cutting teeth, even as infants. You'll say, oh, is it a cold, or are they cutting teeth? Do they have a fever because of health or their teeth? So you'll just have to get all that figured out. You may not know. This child will get over it. But the majority of United States preschoolers are reasonably healthy. Injury during the preschool years mostly result from accidents. They are so active, they don't realize their limits, they're curious, they don't realize that things can be dangerous. So it's the job of the parents, the caretakers, to make sure the environment is safe, so the child knows not to get injured, or at least the environment restricts them from getting injured. And of course there's individual differences. Boys typically will be injured more often. Some cultural differences, socioeconomic, poverty level often have more injuries because their environment is less safe than others. The danger that many times we're not aware of is lead poisoning. Some 14 million children, according to the Center for Disease Control, are at risk for lead poisoning. It used to be the big